Hi again, guys, and welcome to another perhaps unexpected stage in my review series for Gran Turismo Sport, but this time not focusing on the beta, but at the same time not the full game, because of course that one isn't out yet. But what is out for a very limited time is the GT Sport official demo, available of course to everyone, which is totally different to the beta, and also significantly different to the beta in terms of what you can do on the game. You can participate in more forms of racing, you can see more of the cars, you can see more of the circuits, and also go more in depth as far as the menus. So with the beta in mind, as a very strong established point of reference on this channel, what did I think of the demo? How does it compare? Are there any improvements? Any things that are notable that have changed? How does it compare? Well, first of all, you're probably noticing that there's no actual footage of the game so far, it's just screenshots, and unfortunately that's what I had to do because I don't know if this happened for anyone else, but I wasn't able to upload any of my recorded video footage of the game due to the capture on the PS4 not allowing it. Now, I don't know if there was just something wrong with the capture or if that's the case for everyone, but for whatever reason, I just screen capped it instead and uploaded it that way. So you can still see the same stuff that I was seeing on the game, along with, of course, some of the notable changes or newer cars. As far as the newer vehicles go, it is nice to see more of them. In the beta, you've got access mainly to some N300 cars, but mostly Group 3s with some Group 4s as well. On the game now, though, or on the demo, you can see some of the Group 1s, the Group Xs, and some of the other N classes like N800, N400, even N1000 in the case of something like a LaFerrari or a Veyron. And after I checked out some of the other newer cars in the beta, the Fittipaldi Vision GT, the McLaren VGT, a couple of the others as well, like the Honda one, there are certainly some interesting new cars in the lineup. The Porsche 919 Hybrid, that should be pretty interesting to see how that performs against the Toyota TS50 and the Audi R18, and also, of course, the Peugeot 908 as well. So, as far as driving performance goes, I don't know if anyone else who played the demo found this to be the case, or actually you'd have to have played the beta as well, but for those who did play the beta and are now playing the demo, I don't know if you guys felt this way, but I certainly did, that the handling seems different again. Now, I don't know if it's just because I'm out of the flow of the beta, having not played it for a couple of months now, but it definitely felt different to me. The first vehicle I was driving was different. I hadn't driven it in the beta. It was the Peugeot RCZ Group B machine. That's the car that I was given, and it was very slippery. The car was spinning out a lot. I adjusted some settings and it got a bit better, but still the handling felt considerably different to me than the beta did. Now, as I said, I don't know if that's because I've been playing other things since then, such as Forza 7, for instance. So getting used to all these different games at the same time may well be throwing my driving style off, because usually when someone plays a game, they tend to just focus on that one game, whereas at the moment I'm all over the place, playing Gran Turismo 2, 6, Sport, Forza Horizon 3, Forza 7, so I'm playing so many different driving games that my driving style isn't quite perfect on any of them, but it's kind of good enough to get by on all of them. Now with this, it definitely felt different to me, but for other people, maybe not so much. As far as the changes in the demo compared to the beta, most of it I was happy with. It was great to see the scapes, the photo locations in the game. It was awesome to see some rally circuits available. I did some driving on the rally tracks. And for those who are, like myself, big fans of Gran Turismo's rallying from the past, I'm happy to see it return. You're not going to be disappointed. Now, the rally tracks that are on the demo aren't very big. And again, if you've played the demo, you've probably tried out those rally circuits, but they weren't really big tracks, they weren't particularly long to test the cars on, so hopefully we'll see some bigger ones. I believe the Pikes Peak is supposed to be returning, but it depends what year of the Pikes Peak they do. It would be nice if they did it in a similar way to what they've done with La Sarthe, having the old and new circuit with and without the chicanes, because the Pikes Peak now, as far as I know, is completely tarmac, I think. If it's not completely, it's pretty close to it, whereas back in the day, of course, there was far more dirt. So it would be cool if they had the traditional circuit and maybe the newer one as well. But even apart from the Pikes Peak, it would be cool to have some longer rally tracks in general, maybe even some actual rally stages. But we'll have to see as far as stuff like that goes. Now, a lot of the worry that people have had about Gran Turismo Sport, and this is something which people raise with me a lot in comments, in messages, is the lack, or the perceived lack, of a career mode. But I heard from sources which are to be believed that it had the biggest campaign or career mode of any Gran Turismo game so far. So why is there such a big disparity between what people believe and what is supposedly actually the case? Well, to be honest, I can see why people would think that. After playing the demo especially, there doesn't seem to be a traditional career mode. There are a lot of missions, very Gran Turismo 4 style in that way. There's a lot of license-esque missions as well. They're not calling it licenses anymore. It's more like driving school or something like that. I can't remember what they called it. You can probably see it in one of the slides of this video. But it's the same thing, really, teaching people etiquette of driving, driving principles, that kind of stuff. But all of that, of course, isn't a career mode as such. That's just elements of a career mode. And I think that's what may be throwing some people off, that there's all these little individual parts rather than just one big traditional career mode option that you click on and then get loads of championships and endurance races and all that kind of thing underneath. Now, I don't know if I maybe missed something, but the career mode, or the campaign as they're calling it in the game, didn't seem to be there fully. Now again, it is the demo, and there were certain parts which were locked off because it's not the full game. But I didn't notice that there was a traditional career mode. So I'm not saying that the people who are worried are wrong, and to any of those people who asked me, I didn't tell them they were wrong. I merely repeated what I'd heard, which is that it's supposed to have the biggest career mode. So I'm not sure myself now, because we've heard a lot of things. We also heard about this phase 2 of the beta, and look what happened with that, or what didn't happen with that, as the case may be. So we'll have to wait and see. Certainly the online stuff is a big important part. The GT Sport mode, which I assumed when I first saw it in the menu was just the online stuff, but it doesn't seem to be, because they have two separate menus. One for GT Sport mode and one for online. Plus then they have campaign, which is another menu itself, and then arcade mode. So you've actually got kind of 4 distinct different driving menus. So whether or not more of the career mode is under the GT Sport category, because I didn't get the chance, not yet at least, to look in depth at every single thing. This is more of an overview. So I'm not really sure if it was under that category or not, but I can definitely see why some people were getting a bit confused. That's understandable, totally. So overall, the demo, if you do get a chance to play it, I would say is very important for people who are potentially going to buy the game. Maybe you've got a PS4 anyway. If you don't have a PS4 but you know somebody who does, try to get them to download the demo for you to try. It's a big demo, it's like 40 gig, but of course you can always delete it afterwards. If you do get the chance though, I would say it's very important for potential GT Sport buyers who maybe still aren't convinced whether or not they want it, because not wanting it isn't a bad thing. Of course, it's down to personal preference. So needing to decide necessitates that you need to have a good chance to play the game. So if you get the chance to play this demo, I would say you really need to, because of course the demo is a better gauge of whether or not you'll like the game than the beta would be, because the beta had a totally different purpose. If you do get the chance to play this demo, you need to. Whether you're a Gran Turismo fan or a potential fan, or maybe you're entirely new to the series, it's very important, because even for someone like me who is in the position of playing the beta first and now the demo and then the game when it's released, I can say it was substantially different to play the demo than it was to play the beta. And I don't know, again, how the other guys who played the beta feel in that regard, but I definitely felt that it gave me a different feel. It felt notably different to the beta. The beta felt very limited in scope. The fact that you could hardly use any of it gives you a very certain view of the game. So when you then go into this one, it feels so much bigger and brighter and glitzier that it's a little bit daunting initially. Kind of like what happened when I first started playing Forza 7. There's this totally new menu to get used to, buttons everywhere, writing all over the screen basically, which isn't a bad thing. Because as I've said before with games like Fallout, games that have really in-depth menus are often daunting to begin with, but once you get into it, you really make full use of all of those menus. Because although initially it can throw you off, once you get into it, you start to get this effortless flow. And I think that will be the case with GT Sport. People will be zipping around the menu. Some people probably already are. Personally, I don't know if I like the menu or not. I think as far as Gran Turismo goes, it's pretty, certainly, but it seems a little bit too on the side of efficiency rather than emotion. And I would say it's very similar to Gran Turismo 5 in that regard, this very centralized hub, which reminds me kind of like a calendar. And I don't really want my game menu to look like a calendar, where you're just flipping through months and days. I don't want that. I want something with more character to it. Even Gran Turismo 6, I would say, had a bit more character than that. Gran Turismo 4, for me, is the perfect example. That is how to make a menu. Gran Turismo 1, 2, and 3, especially 2 and 3 and then 4, they had, I would say, the perfect racing game menu, where it's a literal map and you can move around the map. That is the best way of doing it as far as I'm concerned. But who knows, I'm, not the newest generation of gamer anymore, so maybe younger people who are even younger than me, that is, prefer this way. Who knows? Personally, those are my overall thoughts as far as the demo goes. You could get into stuff like graphics, physics, sounds. One thing I will say, and this could potentially be not inflammatory, but potentially controversial to some people, although I don't mean it to be, is that I would say the graphics of GT Sport are better than Forza 7. I love both, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on Forza at all. As I've said before, I stick up for Forza and I stick up for Gran Turismo because of how much love I have for both of them. But as far as the current versions of the game go, before patches or updates, GT Sport looks better, I think. The details are there. Gran Turismo, and I have mentioned this before, has always aimed to look as good as real life. Whereas Forza has always aimed to look a little bit more vivid than real life. And although you'd think that's automatically better, sometimes the colours in particular on Forza can feel a little bit overdone to me, a little bit too bright. Not that that's bad, necessarily, but I think it just gives Gran Turismo the edge as far as realistic visuals go. It's a little bit more restrained on Gran Turismo's part. So I would say that the graphics on GT Sport will definitely please a Gran Turismo fan, but that's really a total side point anyway. Overall then, as I mentioned, the most important thing is to get your own thoughts out there, play the demo before the game is released. There's a very, very short window of opportunity to do so. It's got a very strange timeline that they've been doing this with, but anyway. Of course, if you want to check out more Gran Turismo Sport content based on the demo, the beta, individual car reviews even, and of course, when the full game is released very soon, then obviously you'll want to stick around here on the channel to see that kind of content before everyone else. But that's it overall for this particular review. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.